manage performance going forward, or sort of certainly help manage performance going forward, and also strategic planning. So whether that's dealing with whatever's coming at you during the current crisis, Brexit, which we all seem to have, which is been pushed out, unfortunately, not very far, and we're all having to deal with as well. Nobody really knows what that's going to happen. There's a lot of scenario planning to do. It could be just around normal business. You might be launching a new product. You might be taking on a loan. You might be doing a lot of things. So you can scenario plan for all that. You can. So what we're going to go through today is the change. It's more than just a cash flow forecast. There's a lot of things out there forecasting, but first thing that comes to people's mind is cash flow forecasting, and of course, ProForecast does that. But it has the capability to do a lot more. So it can incorporate all the data from your general ledger, from your Salesforce, from all of your workforce stuff, your employment statistics, inventory management, and outputs to help manufacturing as well. It's very much of a tool you would embed in as part of your it's an FP&A tool, really, financial planning and analysis, that you would integrate into your core accounting systems and use it to manage how you're performing against your forecast going forward. So there's a rolling forecast, which overwrites your forecast every month, which gives you the rest of it. And there's also, which I think is more important, a variance report, which shows you on any given day or any given month how you've performed against your forecast, what the variance is, and you can drill down to see where problems and or where you overachieved as well came up. And you can collaborate, so you can share the plan with anybody in your organization, other users. For example, you might want to give the sales guy the ability to put the forecasts in there, HR to put in salaries, IT department to put in IT budgets, whatever it would be. And you can do that. You can collaborate. So we'll show you how to do that. You can very quickly run what-if scenarios. So again, going to launch a new product. What does that mean? You can build that very quickly within ProForecast. You can recalculate. You can recalculate on a separate plan by copying your initial plan and see exactly across your entire business what the effects of that will be. We have an AI engine as well, particularly Sage 200, Sage 50 integrations. This brings in all of your products. It brings in your COGS, sales prices, units sold, seasonality, as well as all your central overheads, pre-populates that plan and projects it forward based on your previous performance, giving you a baseline plan very quickly to scenario plan around. We've also got a rich data visualization layer. This allows you to create custom reports with a simple drag and drop process. Gives you all the normal financial reports you would like, but also reports on sales, what you've sold, where you've sold, by region, by salesperson, by product, and you can drill down for all the detailed analysis you want. You can also, using the same drag and drop method, you can create management reports by whether it's a board report or whether it's for a specific audience, or you're trying to, it's for the bank to raise a loan. You can adapt the content for your audience. So on a higher level, this is what it does. It's obviously cloud-based, so there's no local install. You can access ProForecast from anywhere. We've got Sage authorized integrations into Sage 200 Cloud and Professional, as well as Sage 50. So I think the best thing now would be for Calvin to do the overview. We'll probably focus on these points that I've put in the presentation, and then there'll be some time for some Q&A after that. You want to take over?
Thanks, Mark. So what I've done here, just to get the ball rolling, is I've just started us off on the landing page of ProForecast. This is the very first thing you'll see once you log in to the app itself. The way I'll run through the quick demonstration here is we'll start the My Plan screen, which will really let us explore some of the importing features, things like edit rights and audit trail, of course, attached to that. A few of the different revenue models as well. From there, I'll briefly touch on the data entries, which is really the core of ProForecast. It's where you'll be able to manipulate those values and enter them manually as well. And then, of course, we can touch on reports, charts, briefly expand on some of the areas that Mark just touched on in that presentation. And of course, last but not least, we can also expand a bit on consolidations as well. So from an end user perspective, what we would do is simply work our way through these buttons across the top. Of course, starting with things like the forecast start date and the length in years. You can, of course, assign your custom company color scheme, which will be reflected on your charts and graphs. And you can also manipulate your reporting configuration by selecting any of the drop-down options available from that screen. Next up, we have our revenue models. Now, ProForecast operates on a template-driven revenue model process. However, you can combine as many of these as you choose to almost create your own personalized revenue model. And you can do that really using the marketing split. Now, you can see, for instance, in this plan that we have license fees, manual sales target, manufacturing, products and services, professional services, sundry sales, quite a wide variety of different revenue streams there. There's also a few that we haven't added, such as agency and yield model, for instance. Now, again, we can access these in the marketing split and really assign a percentage split between all of these revenue models to create our personalized company revenue stream. So maybe perhaps your revenues are based on a 75% income via products and services, and the other 25 might be via professional services. So you can really pick and choose and pick at that and play around with it to match your needs. Next up, we have company structure, of course. So from here, you can build out as many departments as you choose. Of course, assign if these are overseas, if they're operational or non-operational. And alongside that, also, we have our divisions as well. So maybe you want to set up a European division or an Ireland division, for example, there. From that, you can again assign if this is operational. Now, there's a few differences with the divisions. You can, of course, assign things like when did it start trading. But alongside that, you can also add departments to it. So with this Europe division, for an example, again, we can add, let's say, a sales department to that. You can again assign if that's operational or non-operational. And you can see we've added that department just below. Maybe with our Ireland division as well, you can see we also have a sales division in that, but maybe you need multiple departments, for things like HR, sales, etc. Now, with every division and department in ProForecast, each one of those will have their own dedicated payroll, their own dedicated account headings as well. Alongside with that, with any divisions that you've set up, you can also manipulate your revenue to come via those divisions as well. When we do get to our reports and charts, you'll be pleased to see you can also view your reports on a divisional or departmental level as well. Moving on from that, we do have VAT, GST, and corporation tax set up, so we can handle quarterly, bi-monthly, and monthly payments from there. There is a much more detailed side of this in the data entry screen, which I'll briefly touch on a little bit when we work our way through there. In terms of importing process, we do accept CSV imports. You won't actually have to manipulate your CSV to match any template. We've built a custom profiling in that, so all you'll need to do is tell us if column A is your nominal codes, if column B is the account headings, or if column C is the values that you want to pull through. We'll do the rest of the work in the background for you. In terms of connections, we are also integrating with Sage and Tact, for instance, and a wide variety of different other packages. For now, I'll quickly demonstrate a Sage 200 Professional integration there. You can see we've linked this up using the Office 365 credentials, and there's 3 different varieties of data imports that we can run through. Of course, account setup would be our default to pull through any overheads, balance sheet figures, etc. Then if we are wanting to, let's say, have a rolling forecast in our reports, we can then start to introduce actuals per period. Now, your actuals will retain. So if we've, let's say, completed an entire month's actuals in January, assuming the nominal code or the account heading does not change, we will retain that mapping data for February. So you won't need to remap these actuals every single month. In terms of the Rapier setup, that's the AI feature that Mark was briefly explaining just before. Mark, is there anything you'd like to add to that before I move past it?
I think I went through that on the preamble. I say it's a bit of sort of software that we developed that sits between ProForecast and your accounting system, pulls all the numbers through it and then pre-populates your forecast going forward. It needs about 18 months data. Obviously, the more data it's got, the more accurate it's going to be. Just radically speeds up your setup. It gives you a baseline forecast to start scenario planning around or making changes around. Obviously, it doesn't know what it doesn't know. If you're discontinuing a product or bringing a new product in, you still have to add those as they come.
Yep. So moving on from that, I'll quickly show you an account setup example briefly here, just to give you a broad idea of what you'd expect to see. So of course, you can see we've brought through the nominal code, the account headings and the values. As an end user here, all you need to do is tell us where you want that data to be placed in ProForecast, whether it belongs in a fixed asset, a current asset, maybe it's an overhead, or even it belongs in those divisions that we've set up earlier on, or even any of those departments as well. If it is a case that it maybe is any of those overheads, for an example there, you can actually use custom naming conventions as well. So you don't need to follow our library naming conventions either. In terms of how you would process from here, you can work your way through all these pages. And if you're happy with that, you can lock your data and that'll bring it straight through. I'll carry on from here now with user access. Now, user access is a quick and easy way to invite people to view reports and dashboards rather than the classic format of maybe exporting these balance sheets and cash flow reports to a CSV or PDF format, attaching them to an email and sending them off. We've integrated that process into ProForecast, so you can enter a name, last name, and email, select which reports you'd like to dispatch out, and once they've actually received the invitation for that, the benefits of using our built-in system here is you actually have an email confirmed tracker as well, which allows you to see if the user has actually opened these reports or dashboards. Now, next up here, we have edit rights, which is phenomenal. If you have multiple users in an organization, maybe working alongside one another with ProForecast, you can actually add as many users as you like to this. You can share a plan with one another, which is, again, is one of those benefits of having a cloud-based software. So you can select which components of the forecast you'd like that user to be able to view or even manipulate the data for. So maybe you wouldn't like them to see the salaries or anything outside of their unique division, for instance. You can restrict or allow access to any fields for that. Now, of course, when you are beginning to share out this plan with multiple users, you'll then also need to be able to see what user X, Y, or Z has changed. So we have incorporated the audit trail option for you as well. So if I go over to the shared plans tab at the top here, and I'll jump over to a plan that's been shared with myself in this instance, I've been granted access to the audit trail, so I can see that. Now we can select a date range if we want to, or we can select from the list of users. But I'll just leave it all blank now, so we just see every change made to the plan. So you can see here every date and time that a change has been made to this plan, which user made the change. Now we've also broken down the actions into 3 core fields. So we have an update to an existing item, of course, any new items that have been introduced, as well as any items that have been deleted. Now, to view any updates to a specific item, we can just select, let's say, the commercial terms change that was made here to inflation rate 2. So I can view the history of that item and say that it was adjusted at X, Y, or Z time, what the new value is, or what the previous value was before that. And you can do that with every field across the entirety of the app. So I'll take a step back quickly here and jump back to the demo plan that we were operating on just at the beginning to touch on the last field really within the screen, which would be the copy plan. This does allow you to create an entire copy of your plan, including any payroll data. Maybe you've imported data over as well. It allows you to have a base forecast going forward without having to recreate that multiple times as well. So from this screen here, we can move on to the data entries. Now, again, as I was saying, this is kind of one of those areas that we dive a bit more detail into, really, if we had that one-to-one meeting. But I'll give you a quick overview of this. So from here, we can handle any of those opening balance figures that we'd either brought through or wanted to enter them manually. You can see we have a balance sheet total on the right-hand side there to quickly let us know if our balance sheet is totaling up or not. Of course, we've got our revenue models. As you can see, there's a wide variety of different options in there with products and services, manufacturing process. If we do want to, let's say, a set of products and services as a quick example with this, we can run a product. We can break this down by product groups. And from there, we can introduce new product lines, of course, selling price, cost price, any stock holding times, as well as handling credit terms, input and output VAT rates as well. Now, briefly touching on the scenario planning side of ProForecast, I can take this product here and I can use this step change icon to really scenario plan this specific product line for things like adjustments to selling price, cost price, stock holding days, see how that will affect my forecast going forward. Now, of course, you can use this for things like fee earners. You can use it for license fees. Maybe there's an adjustment in the license fee cost. Maybe your average chargeable hours rates have been adjusted for your fee earners and so forth. So I can take a selling price for this specific line and say, okay, well, how will this affect my forecast if it's adjusted in September, October, November? And if need be, you can also add a description. Now, with the step changes and micro what ifs, you'll find these located across the entirety of the app for scenario planning. You can use it on things like bank loans, maybe due to COVID, the interest rate has been reduced. You can use it on payroll to adjust salaries, of course, see how that'll affect. Maybe your overheads have been changed due to COVID because you're not in the offices anymore. All of those factors can be taken into consideration. Now, if you don't really need that much granularity, of course, you can use the global what ifs, which are up here in the top right corner. Now, what these will allow you to do is quickly enter a percentage change in sales across the board, or even a percent change in gross margin across the board. You can run a few different scenarios as well, such as Monte Carlo analysis and price elasticity, etc. Now, in terms of enabling these scenarios, it's a case of when you click calculate and you refresh these reports, all you need to do is select with a tick of a box which scenarios you want to enable in your forecast, whether it's Monte Carlo or any of those step changes, or even delaying sales from divisions or even a central basis. Now, of course, with payroll, you can really break this down to as much detail as you want. You'll notice with these sections just down the bottom here, we wrote this down into central salaries, board salaries, central sales salaries. And again, with those departments and divisions that we had added earlier on, you'll notice that they all have their own dedicated payroll and account heading sections also. Now, if you wanted to have every single employee listed individually, you can do that. If you would like to have them grouped as, maybe if I jump into central sales salaries, there'll be an example in here of, let's say, a support team consisting of 5 employees on an annual or hourly pay, entirely up to how you want to set that up. You can adjust this accordingly as well. So with salary changes, again, it's a case of selecting the employee, selecting the month and the new value. Very straightforward interface for that. And a similar thing applies to employment changes. So let's say our sales are going fantastic and we need to up our support team in December from 5 staff to 10. Very simple, entering the new value and saving the adjustments. We do, of course, handle motor expenses, etc. as well for any car allowance, mileage, cost per mile month. And of course, in things like your core plan setup, the much more detailed side of the VAT and tax, of course, R&D tax credit, account adjustments, handling input and output splits, changes in VAT rates, all of those fields are manageable in there as well. Now, on that note, I'll leave the core plan setup area for now, and we'll really jump over to the output side of ProForecast with the dashboards here. So from there, we'll be asked to select our calculation. So one of the luxuries of ProForecast also is you could actually retain an entire year's calculation. So you could keep forecasts from January, best case, worst case, all the way through for the end of the year if you wanted to. Or if you wouldn't want to do that, you can also overwrite them. So you can see we've got a best case example there. We've got a multiple scenario case here. And then, of course, we can select our original forecast or any user-defined or Monte Carlo analysis that have been enabled from that. Now, across the top here, you'll see our list of reports in our dashboard. So, of course, you've got your standard summary report, your balance sheet, your income statement. You've got your cash flow report there as well. Alongside that, you've got your source and application of funds, of course. And if you did want to view this on a departmental or a divisional level, of course, you can select that from there as well. Now, you'll see our report will slowly start to load through here. Now, of course, loading times on this can vary due to, of course, the software being cloud-based. It could be very on, of course, things like internet speed as well as the plan size itself. Usually we aim to get these up in less than 20 seconds for you on that anyway. So with this income statement, as a brief example here, just to have a quick scroll down for you, I'll show you some of the customization options and flexibility with these reports. First things first with these is they are, of course, all exportable. You can export them to Excel, PDF, and CSV. If you do choose to export these to Excel or CSV, it will retain the formatting for you, so you won't need to play around in CSV or Excel and tweak the columns. If you do want a graphical representation of, let's say, our sales of products and services, we can click on the first column there, and that'll give us a graph which will pop up, and that'll be, of course, the forecast for that line across the entire forecast period. Now, we also, of course, incorporate the drill downs for as much detail and granularity as you want. So again, if I take the sales of products and services example, left click on the text, we'll actually get a refresh of the report, and this will take us to our product summary report. In this instance, of course, this would apply to manufacturing. If you're on a license fee revenue model, then of course this will look slightly different. But you can see we've got a stock holding days consolidated for our product lines, cost of sales consolidated. Then we start breaking it down per business unit, so we can see our central business units in stock, then breaking it down further into our divisional revenues, divisional units in stock, and a whole wide range of different areas in there as well. Now, these are also customizable, so maybe you need to highlight a specific line, which you can do so just as simple as right-clicking these columns. You can also centralize them, of course, and modify them however you need to as well. I'll quickly load up a cash flow report here just for you to take a quick look at. Then maybe I think once we've been through this cash flow, what I'll do is I'll jump over to our variance reports to show you some of those options as well, and kind of show you how the actuals will appear once imported as well. So this is a quick look at our cash flow. Again, very straightforward from that. And you'll see all of these options are also have a drill down behind them as well. So from there, I'll quickly jump into our report section. Of course, you can see our consolidation reports can be produced from there, but we'll tab for. And what we'll do is we'll expand this, select the same calculation, and again, the same forecast. Now, one thing I'll probably be jumping straight out to you right now, which is getting implemented on Thursday, is you'll be thinking, okay, well, with the variance and actual reports, where is the income statement? That is being introduced this Thursday, which will be, if I quickly double check the calendar, that'll be tomorrow. So the November, that should be live. Now you can see across the top, of course, we do have the balance sheet, the central overheads, the central sales, and you can also view your actual variance reports on a departmental or a divisional level. And now, Mark, I don't know if maybe you want to expand a bit on the key areas of the variance reports.
Yeah, variance reports really just give you that overview very quickly of how you're performing against where you thought you were going to be at any given time, and then being able to make changes to how you're doing things going forward. Identify where there's problems very quickly, rather than if you're doing a quarterly or annually doing a variance, things tend to drift. It just gets on top of that drift very quickly and shows you where things are going wrong or right ultimately.
Yeah, and of course, as you can see now, we've got our new layout and format for the report. So you've got actual forecast and our variance. You can, of course, use things like these filters here to adjust, the parameters, I should say, to adjust things like the variance to be produced in a percentage value rather than a figure. If you prefer that layout, you can do that. And now, of course, with the previous reports that we were just on, you can also start implementing a rolling forecast as well if you want your actuals to start producing and rolling through as and when you complete them. So I'll quickly scroll down here, show you a few of these options for the balance sheet variance report. And on that note, we'll actually move over to our custom dashboard here. Now, with the custom dashboard, this is really what allows you to get into that granularity and customization that you'd like to go into if you are wanting to create unique board packages for that. So if we click new dashboard to get started here, we'll get with this canvas to get working with. So it's very straightforward, as Mark's saying, very much a drag and drop process. We have our getting started folder here, which breaks down into 3 subsections of charts, dashboards, and reports. Our reports, of course, are the areas that we've just been through, which can be dragged and dropped in here very simply. With our charts, of course, you've got cash flow and license products. All of these have their own subsections again of niche areas which can be brought in. So let's say we want to pull in quarterly net sales here, we'll drag and drop that in. A similar thing applies to, let's say we want our annual net sales in here, again drag and drop. So you'll be thinking, okay, what's the benefit of this area really? Again, with the customization, we can drag and drop a new tile in here. So let's select a custom image from this. We can go into ProForecast, we can go into our brand guidelines here and pull in any company logo that you want. Again, resize for scale. This is where you could pull in your reports and add your custom company logo in the top corner there. And again, we'll just resize this here. Now you can see we are running this chart in comparison with an original forecast, our Monte Carlo analysis, and then our user defined options from that as well. Now you can save these custom dashboards however you like. You've of course got your own personal My Reports folder down the bottom there. You can give a name, description, and alongside that, once you've saved these, you can actually schedule them to be emailed out. So let's say I wanted to request a personal dashboard that Mark's requested from me. I need that to be dispatched out to him on Friday afternoon. I'll receive a personal invitation once I've scheduled that to be dispatched to him, and then he'll get that received via email. With the canvas as well, you can also customize things like the background as well to your personal preferences. Nothing in this custom dashboard is really locked at all. It's freely customizable to any level that you'd like. Now, if you don't have the time to sit here and play around with every single one of these custom dashboards, we have kept in the revenues and management dashboards for you to access easily. So if I select the revenues dashboard here, just to show a quick example of that, I'll wait for this just to generate up. And again, we'll just select which calculation we'd like to access from that. And again, we can select which revenue models breakdown dashboard do we want to view. So of course, as you're saying at the beginning, I do have a variety of different revenue models in here. If you do only have 1 or 2, then of course you'll only have them options presented to you at the beginning there. Now you'll see we've got our breakdown here of the products dashboard, and all of these will start loading through one by one. And now again, with these, this is one of the areas again that's very highly customizable. The color scheme is of course reflective of the options that we selected at the beginning of the demonstration. But let's say I need to adjust that now at a later period and I want to adjust each specific pie icon color. I can do that here, adjusting them however I choose. Now, we also give you a lot of customization in terms of visibility for this. So maybe you want to modernize this, make it a bit 3D, make it pop out a bit. You can do that. You can have it side scrolling, of course, as well. You can get rid of that 3D style. Maybe we need to make, let's take this example here. We can put that into a bar chart, for example, there as well, and customize these really to any kind of level that you want from that as well. These are also exportable to RTF format, so it'll quickly and easily be accessible in things like Microsoft Word if you wanted to output them into that format as well. So last but not least, of course, in this side tab here, we do have our consolidations, which is very easy to set up as well. I'll show you a quick example of this. So the only two constraints with the consolidations is, of course, that the forecast length has to be the same and the forecast start date has to be the same. Aside from that, you can choose which report currency you'd like it to be produced in. Alongside that, you can also select which scenario you want to run. So you can also run scenario-based consolidations as well. It's a case of dragging and dropping which forecasts you'd like to add from that My Plan screen and adding them into the consolidation. Once there and you've run a calculation, you can of course make adjustments as well using the journals for things like specific value changes, monthly recurring changes, or percent of changes as well. So if I take a quick example here by diving into the journal, we can make a specific value change to, let's say, the income statement here on sales of products and services by entering a value. Very straightforward with that. In terms of accessing the outputs of this, of course, you'll find them located in the charts and reports sections under consolidation dashboard and the consolidation reports. In terms of in-app help, which is one of the things you'll have probably seen, you'll have noticed there's a lot of the question marks located around the app. Now, this is just to let you know that these are little pop-up tooltips. Now, if you do see any of these flashing pulsing orbs, that just lets you know that there's a tool available for that section. You'll find these most commonly in things like revenue models, but these will really take you step by step, showing you each and every screen within there. If that isn't enough help, we do, of course, offer the support portal up here in the top right corner, which if I open this in a new tab, you'll see it'll briefly redirect us to the ProForecast website, where we can schedule a one-on-one 60-minute support session with either myself or any of the other guys in the team, where you can pick a select date and a time that suits yourself. And of course, we do also have a wide range of videos and PDFs available on our website as well for any product overviews or any specific niche areas of the app that you need to work your way around. Aside from that, I feel like I've covered most of the areas on my end. I guess I'll pass it over to Mark now and he'll probably take some questions, I'd imagine.
Yeah, yes, thanks for your time there, Calvin. It's obviously very, normally the demos, if you take a full one, it'll be in excess of an hour, but I think that's covering the high points, which is what we're trying to do.